Hello, on this video I'm going to talk about Python exception. So exception is a error that happens whenever the program is running. And then the exception, if you don't handle that correctly, it will crash your program. So I'm going to write a quick example of what a error is. So here in this case, I'm trying to convert ABC into a integer. So if I run this program, crashes and it gives me an error saying, hey, there's a value error because there's an invalid literal for int. So you cannot convert this to integer. If that happens whenever your code is running, it crashes your codes. So we do not want your code to crash. We want a way to handle this exception so you can quit the program elegantly instead of just crashing. All right, to do that, I'm going to use the try. So the try and then finally the except, and then I'm going to paste the exception that I got from the error. So in this case here, it's a value error exception. So now instead of crashing, I'm just going to print a friendly message, and then from there you can do whatever you want to do. So now if I run the program, I get a friendly message, and also it gives me the opportunity to fix this problem here by asking the user to enter another value or whatever that is. Now let's move on, and I'm going to write a little bit more code here. So I'm going to put here input so I can actually get the input from the keyboard. I'm getting the value from the user and then storing on my int, and after that I'm going to divide a number, whatever number you want, 10, by my int. So now I'm going to run this program, and then when it asks for a value, I'm going to enter 0. So what happens now is that we're going to have a division by 0, which is illegal, and it will crash your program again. So it crashed the program again with the error division, 0 division error. So I'm going to copy this, and then right here, the first question you might be asking is, why did it crash? Well, it crashed because you are catching one exception only. So this only catches the value error exception. It will not catch the 0 division exception. So in order to catch the other exception, you need to accept the 0 division error, print whatever message you want here, and I'm gonna print I can't divide by 0. Now if I run this again, I'm going to enter 0, press enter, and then I get the value I can't divide it by 0. So for each exception that you have, you should catch it separately the same way I'm doing here. Now, can you catch all at once? Yes. So you definitely can catch all at once. So this is how you catch more than one exception at once. So I'm catching 2 exceptions here, but the problem with doing that is that now you have to handle it in a generic way. So even if you put 0, or if you pass a string, both arrows are going to end up with the same except. So you're going to handle this the same way. This, in my mind, is not a very good thing to do. So always catch them in a separate except. An even more generic way is for you to catch the exception. And this is a big bucket. This will catch everything. No matter what kind of error you have, this will catch. So not really recommended unless it's the last except. So catch everything that's important first, and then put this catch all exception just in case if something else happened. All right, so I'm gonna put it back the way it was before here. So this is definitely a better way. Now, what you can do as well is to catch the actual objects. So the object here is the E, and then you can put the message right here that comes from the object. So now if I run this guy, I want to type a string, and then it says, sorry, I can convert that, and then it prints the message from the object. So this is the object here. And then if we do the division by 0, I'm going to type 0, and then it says division by 0. That is the message coming from the object here. So usually the E is used for debug purpose or for logging purpose. But for displaying to the user, you're better off just writing your own message. Here, the next item is the else. So you're going to do a try, except, and then after that, you're going to put an else here. So the else executes only when nothing went wrong. So if nothing goes wrong, then it goes to else. So I'm gonna put here a message saying print everything went great. So if everything goes well, it prints this, otherwise it does not print that. So I'm gonna run here and I'm gonna put a real value, 12, and then 12 is a real value, no exception, so it prints everything went great. So I'm gonna run again, and then I'm gonna put a number 0, which will throw an exception. It catches the exception, but the else does not execute. So the else is a clause here that only executes when everything went well. Now there's also another one called finally, and the finally one always executes. No matter what happens, if everything goes well or if everything goes bad, no matter what, the finally always executes. So I'm gonna put it here. This part always runs. So no matter if you have a problem, this part always runs. And if you do not have a problem, let's say number 12, it always runs as well. So this code here only runs when the value error happens. This code here only runs when the 0 division error happens. This code here only happens if no exception occurred. And then this code here runs regardless of whatever happened within the try. All right, so there are a bunch of exceptions, and you can search the internet for exceptions and it will tell you all the exceptions, or you can just let the exception happen and then you can copy the exception name the same way I did here on this code. But now here's a question: what if you have a custom exception? So in that case, you can create your own exception. So I'm going to write a very quick code here. I'm going to create a function called withdraw. And then I'm going to just create a balance here which equals 100. And then the amount to withdraw is going to be equals a integer. Then I'm going to get the message from the user. So now I'm just going to test if the amount is bigger than your balance, then in this case, the user cannot make a withdrawal. So I'm just pretending that this is a bank for now, a very, very simple bank. So if the user has less money in the balance than the amount they want to draw, then I want to fail. In Python, there is no such a thing as out of money exception. So you can create your own exception. So to create your own exception, you're going to type the raise and then the exception you want. I'm going to put here a value error exception because, well, that's a problem with the value. And I'm going to put a message right here. You don't have enough money. And then else, I want to print, hey, here's our cash. So in other words, if they have money, give them the cash. If they don't have money, throw an error, throw an exception. So now I'm going to write the code here to actually call that function. Now, if I run this code as is, and if I type here 150, then there is an exception and my program just crashed because I'm not handling the exception. I'm not catching the exception. So I'm gonna copy the exception name, and then on the withdraw, I'm gonna do the try, and then withdraw, and then I'm gonna catch the exception here. So accept the exception as E. Then I'm gonna print a friendly message. Sorry, you can't get that much money. And then I'm gonna print the object as well. So now if I run this program and then if I decide to withdraw $150, now I get the message that I printed right here, plus the message that comes from the exception, which is you don't have enough money, which is this one right here. This is the way that you can raise your own exception, and you can erase any exception that you want. All right, so that's all for this video. Thanks for watching.